In the middle of a packed Chicago hall, Barack Obama stood calm and collected while Donald Trump, red-faced and snarling, tried to bury him under the same tired birther lies and cheap patriotism attacks, only for Obama to flip the script in one devastating move, exposing Trump's own creepy, decades-old comments about his daughter Ivanka in front of the entire nation, turning the loudmouth bully's trap into the most brutal, humiliating public takedown in modern political history. The hall in downtown Chicago was packed wall to wall. People had come for something real, not another shouting match on TV. They wanted straight talk about the problems hitting their wallets and their futures. Barack Obama walked out from the side entrance without fanfare. No dramatic music, no waving. He just stepped up to the podium in a dark suit, looked out at the faces, and gave a small nod. The room went quiet fast. He didn't waste time. "Listen," he said, voice steady and clear like he was talking to neighbors on a front porch. "Too many families in this country are working 2 or 3 jobs and still can't cover rent or put decent food on the table. I've met parents in Ohio who lost good factory jobs and now make half the money doing the same work. I've talked to single moms in Detroit skipping meals so their kids don't go hungry. That's not right. That's not America at its best." He kept going, keeping it short and sharp. "Our healthcare system still forces people to choose between medicine and groceries. Grandparents rationing pills, kids waiting months to see a doctor because the nearest clinic is hours away. And education? Young people drowning in student debt before they even start their lives, while some schools don't even have working computers or up-to-date books. These aren't just problems on paper, they're real lives getting crushed every single day." The crowd nodded along. A few people clapped here and there, but mostly they listened hard. Obama's words hit home without needing fancy charts or long stories. He let a short pause hang in the air, then leaned forward a little. "But here's the bigger issue," he said, his tone shifting. "We need real leadership to fix this stuff. Not the kind that turns every problem into a spectacle or a personal attack. Real leadership is about showing up, telling the truth, and actually doing the work. Too many people in politics these days prefer drama over solutions. They stir up fear and division because it gets attention. They tear others down instead of lifting the country up." He stopped for a second, eyes scanning the room. Then he looked straight into the main camera like he was speaking to every living room across America. "Some people still prefer words that divide rather than build." The line landed hard. For half a second, the hall was dead silent. Then applause exploded. People stood up clapping loud and strong. Whistles cut through the noise. Obama just stood there, calm, letting it roll over him. He didn't smile big or pump his fist. He simply waited for the sound to settle, knowing the night was just getting started. The applause was still dying down when a loud, familiar voice suddenly blasted through the second microphone. "Barack, you talk a good game, but let's be honest here." Donald Trump leaned forward, his face tight, voice sharp and loud, like he was yelling on a rally stage. "There are still a lot of questions about where you really come from. A lot of people still don't believe you were even born in this country. You've never cleared it up, never shown us the real birth certificate. How can we trust a guy who might not even love America in the first place?" The room froze. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few people shouted, "Come on!" while others sat stunned, mouths half open. Phones started coming out. The easy feeling from Obama's speech vanished in seconds. Trump didn't wait. He kept rolling, getting louder. "You went around the world apologizing for America. You bowed to foreign leaders who don't even respect us. You sided with people who burn our flag. What kind of American does that? Tell me, Barack, do you even love this country, or are you still hiding something?" Some in the audience started booing. Others whispered angrily to the person next to them. A woman in the third row shook her head, looking embarrassed. The energy had flipped completely. What started as a serious talk about real problems had suddenly turned into the same old ugly fight everyone was tired of. Obama didn't say a word at first. He just stood there, hands resting lightly on the podium, and stared straight at Trump. 15 long seconds passed. Dead silence. You could hear the air conditioning humming. Obama's face stayed calm, almost relaxed, but his eyes were locked on Trump like he was looking right through him. No anger, no smile, just steady, ice-cold focus. The tension grew so thick it felt hard to breathe. People shifted in their seats. Trump tried to hold the stare but started blinking faster. His smirk began to fade just a little at the edges. Trump leaned back, trying to look like he'd already won. A smug little smile crept across his face. He gave a small chuckle into the mic, as if Obama's silence proved everything he'd just said. "See? He doesn't even have an answer," Trump added, voice dripping with confidence. "The American people deserve to know the truth." The hall stayed quiet, waiting. Obama still hadn't moved. His calm stare hung in the air like a challenge, daring Trump to keep going. The silence stretched tight, almost unbearable. Every eye in the hall was locked on Obama. He stood completely still for a moment, then spoke in that same calm, measured voice that cut through the tension like a knife. "Mr. President," Obama said slowly, "you question my love for this country. But before you do that, maybe you should answer for how you've talked about your own daughter." The words landed like a slap. A wave of confused murmurs swept through the crowd. Trump's smirk froze on his face, his mouth slightly open. He looked like someone who had just realized the trap was closing on him. Obama didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. In 2004, on the Howard Stern show, Howard asked if he could call Ivanka a piece of ass. You answered, yeah. In 2006, you said this on the same show, "I've said if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her." Those are your exact words. Gasps exploded across the room. People turned to each other in disbelief. A woman in the front row covered her mouth with both hands. Several men shook their heads slowly. The air felt thicker, heavier. Phones flew up again as the entire hall seemed to lean forward at once. Without missing a beat, Obama reached under the podium and pressed a button. The speakers crackled, then filled the entire hall with crystal-clear audio from years ago. First came the 2004 clip. Howard Stern's voice. "Can I call her a piece of ass?" Then Trump's unmistakable voice, loud and casual, "Yeah." A second later, the 2006 clip played. Trump laughing lightly before saying, "I've said if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her." The audio stopped. The words hung in the dead air like smoke that refused to clear. For 2 full seconds, nobody moved. Then the room erupted. Half the audience shot to their feet, clapping hard and loud. "Wow!" someone yelled. Others booed furiously, shouting, "That's disgusting and shame!" The hall split right down the middle in raw chaos. Reporters stood up in the press section, typing frantically. A few older folks sat frozen, staring at Trump in open shock. Trump's face turned a deep, angry red. He slammed his fist on the podium so hard the microphone jumped. "That's AI," he shouted, voice cracking with rage. "It's fake, totally fake news. They made that up to hurt me." His eyes were wide and wild. Sweat glistened on his forehead under the bright lights. He pointed a shaking finger at Obama. "You're a liar. This is all rigged." Obama looked straight at him, cool and unflinching. "There was no AI in 2006, Mr. President. These are original radio recordings. The world heard them years ago. They're real. Everyone can hear your own voice." The applause from Obama's side grew even louder. Some people whistled. Others stood clapping with their arms raised. On the other side, furious boos rang out, but they sounded desperate now. The energy in the room had completely flipped. What Trump thought would be his moment to humiliate Obama had backfired in the loudest way possible. Trump gripped the sides of his podium so tightly his knuckles turned white. His chest rose and fell fast. He kept opening and closing his mouth, searching for words, but nothing strong came out. Then a man in a dark blue suit suddenly stood up in the middle of the 5th row. He raised his hand high and called out in a strong, clear voice, "Mr. Obama, may I speak? I worked for Mr. Trump for 9 years. Security hesitated for a second, but Obama nodded once. A staff member quickly brought a handheld microphone to the man. The entire room went quiet again, leaning in. "My name is Michael Harlan," the man said. "I was a senior project manager at Trump Organization from 2003 to 2012. I was in the room many times when Mr. Trump talked about Ivanka the way you just heard. It wasn't one time, it was regular. In the summer of 2005, we were in his office on the 26th floor. He was looking at photos from a fashion show and said out loud, 'She's got the best body of any woman I've ever seen. If she wasn't my daughter—'" He didn't finish the sentence, but everyone in the room knew what he meant. We all looked at the floor. It wasn't a joke to us. It was uncomfortable. Gasps and murmurs exploded across the hall. Several people stood up. Trump's face turned beet red. He jabbed a finger toward the man and started shouting, "Sit down! You're a liar! I don't even know this guy. Fake. This is all fake." Trump's voice cracked as he banged on the podium. In his anger, he nearly knocked the microphone off its stand. He grabbed it at the last second, breathing hard, sweat rolling down his temples. Obama raised his hand calmly, asking for quiet. Then he picked up 2 sheets of paper from the podium. "I also have official transcripts," he said, voice steady. "These were authenticated and archived by the Library of Congress. First one, September 2005, a radio interview. Trump said, and I quote, 'Ivanka is a great beauty. She's got the looks of a supermodel. Honestly, if she weren't my daughter, I'd be chasing her.'" He paused, then read the second one slowly and clearly. "This one is from a 2006 private dinner conversation that was recorded. Trump told a group of executives, 'My daughter Ivanka is smoking hot. She's got the best figure. Sometimes I look at her and think, wow.'" The words hit the room like a punch. A wave of disgust rolled through the crowd. Some people shouted, "Unbelievable!" Others stood up clapping. The noise grew louder and messier. Reporters were on their feet now, cameras flashing non-stop. Trump completely lost it. He stepped out from behind his podium and started walking toward Obama, face twisted in rage. His fists were clenched. "You're finished," he snarled, voice loud and ugly. "You hear me? You're done. I'll destroy you." He got within 10 feet of Obama's podium, eyes wild. The tension in the hall was electric. People were yelling. A few stood between the two men as if ready to jump in. Obama never moved. He stayed right where he was, hands still on his podium, and looked Trump dead in the eyes. His voice stayed low but carried through every speaker in the room. "You're the one finishing yourself right now, Mr. President." The words landed hard. Trump stopped in his tracks, breathing heavily, just a few steps away. For a split second, the two men stared at each other in total silence. Security guards moved in quickly but gently, stepping between them and motioning for Trump to go back to his side. Trump glared at them, then at Obama, before slowly backing away. Trump backed up to his podium, breathing hard, his face still burning red. He wasn't done. He grabbed the microphone with both hands and unleashed a furious counterattack. "You want to talk about family? Let's talk about your family, Barack," he shouted, voice hoarse and ugly. "Your brother in Kenya living in a shack while you act like some big savior. And don't even get me started on your Muslim roots and all those years in a radical church. You've been against this country from day one. You're the one who's ashamed of America, not me." The hall erupted again. Boos and cheers clashed loudly. Some people stood up yelling "enough," while others clapped and shouted Trump's name. The tension was at a breaking point. Obama stood quietly, letting Trump finish his rant. Then he reached under the podium one more time. "Before you keep going," Obama said calmly, "let's look at something from your own mouth." He pressed play. A large screen behind them lit up with a 2012 video clip. Trump was on Fox News, sitting comfortably, saying clearly, "I think President Obama is a very good man. I think he's very smart. Probably the smartest guy ever to be president. He's done a good job." The clip ended. The contrast hit the room like a hammer. Obama looked straight at Trump. "That was you in 2012, calling me smart, saying I was doing a good job. Now here you are tonight claiming I hate America and I'm not even from here. So which one is it, Mr. President? Were you lying then, or are you lying now? The audience lost it. Applause thundered from one side while furious shouts came from the other. Phones were everywhere, capturing every second. Trump exploded. "This is bullshit," he yelled, dropping the B word on live mics. "I'm not doing this anymore. This whole thing is rigged. I'm leaving." He ripped his microphone off the stand and started storming toward the side exit, waving his arms wildly. "I don't need this crap. I'm done." But Obama's voice cut through the noise, slow and steady, each word sharp as a blade. "You can walk away, Mr. President, but the truth won't follow you out that door." Trump slowed down near the edge of the stage. Obama kept speaking, calm but relentless. "You praised me in 2012, now you say I'm a fraud. You called yourself a pro-choice Democrat for years, then became the biggest anti-abortion voice. You said you love Mexican people, then called them rapists. You promised to release your taxes, then fought for years to hide them. You said you didn't need Russia's help, then begged them publicly to find my emails. You attack everyone's character while your own words about your daughter are still playing in this room. You want to talk about loyalty? You've switched positions on almost everything whenever it suited you." Each sentence landed like a punch. The hall grew quieter as Obama continued, 60 seconds of pure, unfiltered truth. Trump stood frozen at the doorway, back turned to the crowd. When he finally spun around, his face was twisted, red, and sweaty. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He just stared, breathing heavily, completely exposed. Security stood nearby, unsure what to do. The entire room was on its feet now, some cheering, some shouting, many just stunned silent. Trump turned back toward the exit without another word, shoulders slumped, and disappeared through the side door. Obama stood at the podium, calm as ever, and waited until every eye was back on him. Then he spoke, his voice steady and clear. "What we just saw wasn't really about me or him," he said. "It was about something much bigger. It was about truth versus noise, about whether we're going to let loud voices and personal attacks distract us from the real problems we face every day. Because in the end, drama might get attention, but only truth gets results." He leaned forward slightly, speaking like a neighbor giving honest advice. Real leadership isn't about who yells the loudest or throws the nastiest insults. It's about showing up, telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable, and doing the hard work to make people's lives better. Hope isn't some empty slogan. Hope is built on integrity. It's built on keeping your word, owning your mistakes, and treating people with basic decency even when they disagree with you. We don't need more shows. We need more honesty. The audience sat completely still, hanging on every word. Obama continued, his tone warm but firm. "I still believe in this country. I believe in the factory worker who shows up early, the teacher who stays late, the young person fighting for a better future. We can disagree on policy. We can argue about the best way forward, but we cannot let lies and division become our normal. Leadership means choosing truth over theater, responsibility over revenge, and hope over fear." Suddenly, someone in the front row stood up and started clapping, then another, then 10 more. Within seconds, the entire hall rose to their feet in a long, powerful standing ovation. The applause rolled like thunder, deep and sustained. Many people had tears in their eyes. A woman in the third row wiped her cheeks openly. An older man in a faded baseball cap clapped so hard his hands turned red. The sound didn't die down quickly. It kept going, wave after wave, full of respect and emotion. Obama nodded quietly, letting the moment breathe. He didn't smile big or raise his hands. He just stood there, taking it in. Then he looked straight into the main camera, speaking directly to millions watching at home. "Today wasn't about me winning," he said slowly, each word clear and powerful. "It was the truth that won." The applause exploded even louder. People cheered, whistled, and clapped for nearly a full minute. Some chanted, "Thank you." Others simply stood in silence, moved by what they had witnessed. The night that started as a normal speech had turned into something much more meaningful, a clear reminder of what real leadership looks like under pressure. Backstage, in a small green room down the hallway, Donald Trump sat alone on a black couch. His tie was loosened, his face pale and sweaty. The usual fire in his eyes was gone. He stared at the floor, breathing heavily. His phone kept ringing nonstop on the table in front of him. Calls from advisors, family, news networks. He didn't pick it up. He just sat there, completely silent, the weight of the night pressing down on him. The confrontation was over. The truth had been spoken. And for everyone who was there that evening, one thing was certain: they would never forget what they saw.